I'm watching Captain Thessaly's jaw tighten as my spell misfires again, and all I can think about is how beautiful she looks when she's trying not to murder me. The training courtyard is now full of strawberries instead of the defensive shields I was supposed to conjure, and one of them just hit her directly in the face. She wipes the juice from her cheek with the back of her hand, and I swear I stop breathing. Something flickers in her steel-gray eyes, something that isn't just anger, and my heart does this stupid thing where it forgets how to beat properly. "Elspeth," she says, and my name in her mouth sounds like a prayer and a curse all at once. This is the third time this week. Fourth, actually, I mutter and immediately want to swallow my tongue because why am I like this? Why do I correct the woman who could have me thrown out of the palace before sunset? She steps closer, her armor catching the morning light, and I can smell leather and steel and something underneath that's just her. The coronation is in 2 days. The High Council expects you to cast the protection ward over the entire kingdom. Do you understand what will happen if you fail? I do. I'll be executed for treason. But that's not what makes my throat close up. It's the way she's looking at me, like she's memorizing my face, like she's already grieving. I won't fail, I lie, and we both know it. She's so close now I can see the small scar above her left eyebrow, and I wonder for the 1,000th time what gave it to her. "Elspeth," she says again, softer this time, and then her hand is on my arm and the entire world narrows to that single point of contact. Her fingers are warm through my sleeve, and I realize with a jolt that she's trembling. Captain Thessaly doesn't tremble. Captain Thessaly faced down the Dark Legion at Ravencross without flinching. Captain Thessaly once killed a chimera with a broken sword and her bare hands. "What's wrong?" I whisper, and suddenly the strawberries and my incompetence don't matter anymore because something is very, very wrong. She opens her mouth, closes it, and for a moment I think she's going to tell me. Then a bell rings from the palace tower, 3 sharp chimes that make her drop my arm like it burned her. "The Queen summons you," she says, and her voice is back to ice and duty. Now, I've never been summoned by Queen Morwenna before. In the 3 months since I was inexplicably appointed royal sorceress, I've been carefully avoiding her, hiding in the lower libraries and the practice yards, anywhere she wouldn't see how catastrophically unqualified I am for this position. My predecessor, the legendary sage Aldora, vanished the same day I received the appointment letter, and I still don't understand why she chose me. I barely graduated from the academy. I turned my final examination proctor into a potted fern. Make sure you're subscribed because what happens in the throne room is going to change everything. Thessaly walks 3 steps behind me as we climb the spiral stairs to the Queen's private chambers, not the throne room. That's worse somehow, more intimate, more dangerous. I can feel her eyes on my back, and I wonder if she can see how badly my hands are shaking. The chamber doors are black oak, carved with symbols I don't recognize, and they swing open before we reach them. Magic, but not mine. Never mine. My magic doesn't do what it's supposed to. Queen Morwenna sits by the window, backlit by sunlight, and she's younger than I expected, maybe only 10 years older than me. Her dark hair falls loose around her shoulders, and she's not wearing her crown. She looks tired, and when she turns to face me, I see fear in her eyes. Queens aren't supposed to be afraid. "Leave us, Captain," she says, not looking at Thessaly. "Your Majesty, I don't think. That wasn't a request." The silence stretches like a blade. I feel Thessaly hesitate behind me, feel the weight of whatever she's not saying, and then she's gone, and I'm alone with the most powerful woman in the kingdom. Morwenna gestures to the chair across from her. "Sit, Elspeth. We need to discuss why you're really here." My legs give out and I sit more from shock than obedience. "I don't understand." "No," she says, pouring wine into 2 goblets with hands that are somehow steadier than mine. "You don't. But you will. Tell me, what do you know about the Unraveling?" The word hits me like a physical blow. The Unraveling is a myth, a story we tell children to scare them into studying their magical theory. It's what happens when the fabric between worlds grows too thin, when reality itself starts to tear apart. "It's not real," I say, but my voice wavers. She slides a goblet toward me. "It's very real, and it's happening right now. Look." She raises her hand, and the air between us shimmers, then splits, and I'm staring into nothing. Not darkness, not void, just nothing, the absence of everything, and my mind can't process what I'm seeing. The edges of the tear are fraying like old cloth, and through it I can hear something, a sound like screaming or singing or both. Gods, I breathe, and the goblet slips from my numb fingers, wine spreading across the table like blood. Morwenna closes her fist and the tear seals, but I can still feel it there, lurking wrong. It started 6 months ago. Small tears at first, in the borderlands where no one lives. But they're growing, multiplying. We estimate we have a month before they reach the capital. Maybe less. Leave a comment with your theory about what's causing the unraveling, because what she tells me next is absolutely wild. Sage Aldora was holding them back, Morwenna continues. Every day, every hour, she was pouring her magic into keeping the barriers strong. It was killing her, Elspeth. Slowly draining the life from her body. She lasted 40 years before the price became too high. But she disappeared. She didn't. I stop, understanding dawning cold and sick in my stomach. She's dead. 3 months ago, yes. The same day you received your appointment. Morwenna leans forward, her eyes boring into mine. She chose you because you're the only one who can take her place. The only one with enough raw, untamed magic to even attempt it. I'm laughing, except it sounds more like choking. You've seen my magic. I can't even summon shields without creating fruit. I'm the worst witch in the kingdom. Everyone knows it. You're the strongest, she corrects. Your spells go wrong because you're channeling more power than any structured incantation can contain. Aldora saw it the first time she met you. That's why she's been watching you for years. The room tilts. Watching me. Every disaster, every failure, every time you were reprimanded at the academy. She documented all of it. She knew that traditional magic would never work for you because you were never meant to work within traditions. You're something else entirely, Elspeth. Something wild and old and powerful enough to hold back the end of the world. No, I stand up so fast the chair falls backward. No, you have the wrong person. I can't even keep a simple light orb stable. How am I supposed to save the kingdom? You won't, Morwenna says quietly. Not by yourself. That's why Captain Thessaly has been training with you every day for 3 months. She's not teaching you combat magic, Elspeth. She's synchronizing her life force with yours. The world stops. Just completely stops. What? The spell that holds back the unraveling requires 2 people. One to channel the raw magic, and one to anchor them to reality so they don't burn out in a week. Aldora did it alone because she was arrogant and because the person who was supposed to anchor her died in battle years before. She thought she was strong enough to manage both roles. Morwenna's voice cracks. She was my mother's dearest friend. I watched her fade for 40 years, and I couldn't stop it. I can't breathe. I can't think. Thessaly has been synchronizing her life force with mine. That's why I feel her before I see her. That's why her touch makes my magic settle. That's why she looks at me like she's memorizing my face. She knows. She's known all along what they're asking us to do. Now subscribe and hit that like button because you need to hear what Thessaly has been hiding from me. Where is she? I demand. Where is Thessaly? Elspeth. Where? Morwenna sighs. The Eastern Tower. But you should know. I'm running before she finishes, taking stairs 3 at a time, my magic crackling around me wild and uncontrolled. Guards jump out of my way and I barely see them. The Eastern Tower is the highest point in the palace, reserved for strategic planning and astronomical observations, and my lungs are burning by the time I reach the top. Thessaly is standing at the window, her back to me, and even from here I can see the tension in her shoulders. How long have you known? My voice echoes in the circular room. She doesn't turn around. Since the beginning. And you were just going to let me walk into this blind? Let me find out 2 days before the coronation that I'm expected to cast a spell that will either save the kingdom or kill us both. Yes. Still not looking at me. Because if you'd known from the start, you would have run. And I wouldn't have blamed you. But you didn't run. I'm crossing the room now, my feet moving without permission. You've been here every day, watching me fail, watching me create disasters out of simple spells, and you stayed. Why? Finally, she turns and the expression on her face cracks something open inside my chest. She looks devastated and determined and terrified all at once. "Because someone has to," she says simply. "And because Aldora asked me to." "Aldora asked you?" The words taste bitter. "So this is just duty. Just another mission for the perfect Captain Thessaly. Don't." Her voice is sharp enough to cut. "Don't diminish this. Don't diminish what I've." She stops, her jaw working like she's physically holding words back. "What?" I push, stepping closer. "What have you done, Thessaly?" "I've bound myself to you." The words explode out of her, raw and furious. "Completely, irreversibly bound. My life forced to yours, my magic to yours, my God's damned heartbeat to yours. Do you understand what that means? If you die, I die. If you fall into the unraveling, I go with you. If you burn out, I burn out. There is no separation anymore, Elspeth. There hasn't been since the first day we trained together. The air feels too thin. You didn't ask me. You didn't even tell me." "I know." Her voice drops to barely a whisper. "I know, and I'm sorry, but there wasn't time and there wasn't a choice and She closes her eyes, her hands clenching into fists at her sides. "I couldn't let you do this alone." Something in my chest is cracking open, something huge and terrifying. "Why not? Why do you care?" Subscribe right now because her answer changes absolutely everything about this story. When she opens her eyes again, they're shining with unshed tears. "Because I fell in love with you, you brilliant, disastrous, impossible woman. Somewhere between the exploding cauldrons and the sentient mud puddles and the time you accidentally turned the entire guard's breakfast into singing fish, I fell completely and catastrophically in love with you. I forget how to form words. I forget how to form thoughts. All I can do is stare at her while my heart tries to beat its way out of my chest. I know you don't feel the same," she continues, and now the tears are falling and I can't bear it. "I know this is just duty to you, just something you're being forced into, and that's fine. I can live with that. I can anchor you and keep you safe and watch you save the world and never expect anything in return. But I needed you to know, just once, that this isn't just duty to me. It stopped being duty the first time you smiled at me. The first time I smiled at you, I had just set my own robes on fire. I manage." "I know." She laughs wetly, wiping at her eyes. "You were beating out the flames and cursing in 3 different languages, and your hair was sticking up in all directions, and I thought you were the most magnificent thing I'd ever seen. My magic is spiraling inside me, responding to the emotion, and the air around us starts to shimmer. Not strawberries this time. Light. Pure, golden light, the kind I've never been able to summon before, pouring out of me like water. Thessaly," I breathe, and her name tastes like coming home. "You absolute fool." She flinches, and I close the distance between us in 2 strides, grabbing her face with both hands. "I've been in love with you since you wiped strawberry juice off your face this morning," I say fiercely. "Since you didn't laugh when I turned the high priest's blessing into a swarm of butterflies. Since you stayed up all night helping me practice basic levitation spells even though you were exhausted. I've been terrified of it because I'm a disaster and you're perfect and I didn't understand why you kept choosing to be near me." "You're not a disaster," she whispers, her hands coming up to cover mine. "You're extraordinary." "I'm both," I correct, and then I'm kissing her because I can't not kiss her anymore, because the world is ending and we might die in 2 days and she loves me. She loves me. She chose me even knowing what it would cost. She makes a small sound against my mouth and kisses me back like she's drowning and I'm air, and my magic explodes outward in a wave of pure golden light that washes over the entire tower. When we break apart, gasping, the stone walls are covered in flowering vines that definitely weren't there before, and the air smells like honey and thunder. "Okay," I say breathlessly. "That's new." Drop a comment with your favorite moment so far because this next part is going to blow your mind. Thessaly is staring at the flowers, then at me, then at her own hands, which are glowing with the same golden light. "Elspeth, what did you just do?" "I don't know. I wasn't trying to do anything. I stop, realization hitting me like cold water. We're synchronized. Actually, fully synchronized. I can feel you. Not just near me, but inside me, like you're part of my own heartbeat." She nods slowly, her eyes wide. I feel it too. Your magic, it's not chaotic anymore. It's still wild, but it has direction, purpose. It's anchored, we say together. For 3 months, Thessaly has been slowly binding herself to me, teaching my magic to recognize her as home base, as true north, as the point I orbit around. And now, with the emotional connection finally complete, the synchronization has locked into place. I should be terrified. I should be angry that this choice was made for me. But all I can feel is this overwhelming sense of rightness. Like I've been walking around with half a soul my whole life and just now realized what was missing. The coronation, Thessaly says suddenly, her tactical mind already 3 steps ahead. If we can maintain this synchronization, if we can keep this connection stable, then maybe the spell won't kill us. Maybe we can actually hold the barriers without burning out. Maybe I agree, but something is nagging at me, some piece that doesn't fit. Thessaly, if Aldora spent 40 years holding back the unraveling alone, why did it suddenly get worse 3 months ago? She died, yes, but wouldn't the tears have started immediately, not accelerated? Her face goes still. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe her death wasn't the cause of the acceleration. Maybe it was the trigger for something else. Something someone wanted to happen. Before she can respond, the door to the tower slams open and Morwenna rushes in, her face pale. You need to see this. Now. We follow her down to the throne room where the entire High Council has assembled, and they all look like they've seen ghosts. Lord Cassius, the Chancellor, is holding a crystal orb that's pulsing with sickly green light. We found this in Aldora's chambers, he says without preamble. Hidden behind a warding spell that dissolved when Elspeth and Captain Thessaly completed their synchronization. What is it? I ask, though dread is already pooling in my stomach. A recording, Morwenna says grimly. From Aldora. Made the day before she died. She touches the orb and the air shimmers, and then Aldora is standing in front of us, transparent and flickering, but unmistakably her. The legendary sage looks exhausted, her face drawn and gray, but her eyes are sharp. If you're seeing this, then Elspeth and her anchor have successfully bonded, which means I was right about them. Aldora's voice is thin but clear. Good. You're going to need that bond for what's coming. The unraveling is not a natural phenomenon. It never was. Make sure you're subscribed because this revelation is about to flip everything you thought you knew. 40 years ago, I made a terrible mistake, Aldora continues. I was young and ambitious, and I thought I could control powers I barely understood. I opened a doorway to the void, trying to access its raw magic for research, and I couldn't close it. The unraveling started immediately, small tears spreading from that first doorway, and I spent the next 4 decades of my life trying to contain my own catastrophic failure. Lord Cassius makes a strangled sound. The rest of the council is frozen in shock. But 6 months ago, I discovered something worse. The doorway I opened, it had been tampered with. Someone had found it years ago and had been slowly, carefully widening it, feeding it magic, making the unraveling spread faster. They wanted it to look like natural decay, like my strength was failing, but it was deliberate sabotage. Someone in the palace wants the barriers to fall. Thessaly's hand finds mine and squeezes hard. I don't know who, Aldora says, and frustration crosses her face. I narrowed it down to 3 members of the High Council, but I died before I could determine which one. They're powerful enough to hide their magical signature, cunning enough to cover their tracks. But they have a tell. Whoever it is will try to prevent Elspeth from casting the protection ward at the coronation. They'll manufacture a crisis, create a distraction, do whatever it takes to make sure she fails. Because if Elspeth succeeds with her anchor, if she stabilizes the barriers with that kind of raw, synchronized power, she won't just stop the unraveling. She'll be able to trace the sabotage back to its source. The recording flickers. Trust no one except the girl and her anchor. They're the only ones I'm certain are clean. The fate of the kingdom rests on them now. I'm sorry I couldn't do more. I'm sorry I couldn't be better. Aldora's form starts to fade. And Elspeth, if you're watching this, I need you to know that you are not a disaster. You're exactly what I hoped you'd be. Don't let them make you doubt that. Then she's gone, and we're left standing in terrible silence. Lord Cassius sets down the orb with shaking hands. This is absurd. One of us, a traitor? We've served the crown for decades. Then you won't mind submitting to a truth spell, Thessaly says coldly, and her hand has moved to her sword. Don't be ridiculous, Captain, Lady Mercania snaps. Truth spells can be tricked by anyone with sufficient magical training, which, I might point out, all of us possess. So we're supposed to just wait around for one of you to sabotage the coronation? I demand, and I can feel my magic rising, crackling in the air around me. The flowering vines from the tower are spreading down the walls now, following me, responding to my emotion. Everyone calm down, Morwenna commands, but even she looks shaken. We have 2 days. We increase security, we watch each other, and we proceed with the coronation as planned. Elspeth, you and Captain Thessaly will need to practice the protection ward before the ceremony. Your Majesty, Lord Regent Aurelius speaks for the first time, his voice oily and smooth. Perhaps we should consider postponing. If there's truly a traitor among us, then postponing gives them more time to act. I cut him off, and something about the way he looks at me makes my skin crawl. We do this at the coronation as planned. Drop a like if you think you know who the traitor is, because I guarantee you're wrong. The council disperses with suspicious glances and tense shoulders, but Thessaly keeps me back, her eyes scanning the throne room like she's looking for threats in every shadow. 3 of them, she murmurs. Cassius, Mercania, or Aurelius. Those are the 3 strongest magic users on the council. Aurelius suggested postponing, I point out. Too obvious. Cassius found the recording, which could be misdirection. Mercania dismissed truth spells immediately, which suggests she has something to hide. Thessaly shakes her head. We're flying blind here. I'm about to respond when pain explodes behind my eyes, sharp and sudden and wrong. The throne room tilts, and I see a tear in reality, massive and growing, right in the center of the palace. Through it, shapes are moving, things that shouldn't exist, and the tear is spreading like cancer, eating through the walls, the floors, everything. Thessaly is screaming my name, but I can't reach her. The nothing is between us, and I'm watching her fade. I come back to myself on the floor with Thessaly holding me, her face white with terror. Elspeth, stay with me, look at me. Vision, I gasp. I saw a vision. The unraveling, it's going to happen during the coronation. Right in the throne room. That's impossible. The coronation is protected by centuries of warding spells. Unless someone disrupts them from the inside, I say, and the pieces are starting to fit together in my head. Thessaly, the traitor isn't just trying to prevent me from casting the ward. They're going to open a tier during the ceremony, right here where everyone is gathered. They want the unraveling to consume the entire royal court at once. Why? Her voice is fierce. What could they possibly gain from destroying the kingdom? Maybe they don't want to destroy it. Maybe they want to control it. I struggle to my feet, my head still pounding. Think about it. If the unraveling consumes the royal family, the High Council, everyone in line for succession, who's left? The remaining council members. Thessaly breathes. They could claim emergency powers, install themselves as regent until the crisis is resolved. Except the crisis never gets resolved because they're the ones feeding it. They rule forever. I press my hands against my temples, trying to push away the lingering images from the vision. We need to find out which one before the coronation. We will, Thessaly promises, and the conviction in her voice almost makes me believe it. Almost. Hit the subscribe button, like the story, and comment below with your theory about who the traitor is and why. We spend the next day and a half practicing the protection ward, and it's nothing like I expected. Traditional magic is about control, about shaping power into specific forms with precise incantations. But the ward isn't traditional magic. It's older than language, older than structured spells. Its pure will made manifest, and it requires me to pour every ounce of my chaotic, wild magic into the barriers between worlds while Thessaly anchors me, keeps me from losing myself in the flow. The first time we attempt it, I black out within 30 seconds. The second time, I last almost a minute before my nose starts bleeding. By the 10th attempt, I can hold the channel for 3 minutes, and the practice room is glowing like we've brought a star inside. But 3 minutes isn't enough. The actual casting will take at least 15 minutes to properly seal every tear in the kingdom, and that's assuming nothing goes wrong. Again, I say, wiping blood from my upper lip. Elspeth, you need to rest. Thessaly looks almost as exhausted as I feel, and I can see the toll the anchoring is taking on her. There are dark circles under her eyes and her hands are shaking. We don't have time to rest. The coronation is tomorrow. And you'll be useless if you burn yourself out before then. She catches my wrist gently but firmly. Please. A few hours of sleep, that's all I'm asking. I want to argue, but she's right and we both know it. My magic is starting to feel slippery, harder to grasp, and that's dangerous. Fine. A few hours. We end up in her chambers because they're closer and because I don't want to be alone, though I don't say that part out loud. Thessaly's room is sparse and military neat. All function and no decoration except for a single painting above her bed, a landscape of mountains I don't recognize. Where is that? I ask, nodding at it. The northern reach, where I grew up. She's pulling off her armor with practiced efficiency, and I try very hard not to stare at the way her shirt clings to her body. My father was a shepherd. He wanted me to take over the flock, but I wanted to fight, so I left when I was 15 and never went back. Do you regret it? She considers this, setting her breastplate carefully aside. Sometimes. But then I think about what I've built here, the people I've protected, and I know I made the right choice. Even if it led me to this moment, to certain death in a throne room while trying to hold back the end of the world. We're not going to die, I say with more confidence than I feel. Maybe not. She sits on the edge of the bed, and the vulnerability in her face makes my chest ache. But if we do, I want you to know that I don't regret any of it. Not the binding, not the training, not falling in love with you. I'd do it all again. I cross to her, standing between her knees, and cup her face in my hands. We're going to live, Thessaly. We're going to stop the unraveling, expose the traitor, and then we're going to have the most boring, normal life two women can have after saving the kingdom. We'll get a cottage somewhere and I'll grow vegetables that are actually vegetables and not accidentally sentient, and you'll teach village children how to fight, and it'll be perfect and mundane and wonderful. She laughs, pulling me down into her lap. You promise. I promise, I lie, and kiss her before she can call me on it. We fall asleep tangled together, and for a few hours I let myself believe that everything will be fine. I wake to screaming. Hit subscribe because what happens next is absolutely insane. The palace is shaking. Not an earthquake, something worse, something wrong. I can feel it in my bones, reality itself trembling like it's being torn apart. Thessaly is already up, already armed, her eyes wild. What's happening? I demand, struggling into my robes. The coronation isn't until noon. It's only dawn. She throws open the door and the corridor beyond is chaos. Guards running, servants screaming, and underneath it all, that terrible tearing sound. We run toward the throne room, and I know what we're going to find before we get there. The vision was wrong about the timing, but right about everything else. The tier is already open, massive and pulsing, and through it I can see the nothing reaching, hungry, desperate to consume everything it touches. The High Council is there, all of them, and so is Morwenna, still in her nightgown. They're trying to contain the tear, but their spells are barely slowing it down. Why no? I shout over the noise. The coronation isn't for hours. Someone accelerated the timeline, Morwenna shouts back. Someone wanted to catch us unprepared. I look at the three suspects. Cassius is bleeding from a head wound, clearly hurt. Mercania is in full battle regalia, like she knew this was coming and dressed for it. Aurelius is in sleeping clothes like the queen, looking genuinely panicked. Too many variables. Too many possibilities. And the tear is growing, spreading across the ceiling like cancer. Elspeth, we need to cast the ward now, Thessaly says urgently. I can't. Not without the coronation ceremony. The ward needs the crown's power to anchor it. That's why it's always cast during coronations. I'm thinking frantically, trying to remember everything I learned about the spell. Unless what? Unless I use a different anchor. Something older than the crown, something tied to the land itself. I turn to Morwenna. The founding stone. Where is it? Her eyes widen. In the vault beneath the palace. But Elspeth, no one's accessed it in centuries, we don't even know if. Where? I cut her off. I'll take you, Aurelius says, stepping forward. I'm the keeper of antiquities, I have the key. Everything in me screams wrong. This is too convenient, too perfect, but the tear is spreading and we're out of time and options. Thessaly's hand is on her sword. I'm coming with you. No, I say, and hate the word even as I say it. I need you here maintaining a barrier. You're the only one strong enough to slow the tear while I'm gone. Elspeth. Trust me, I beg. Please. She wants to argue. I can see it in every line of her body, but the building shakes again and stone starts to fall from the ceiling. 5 minutes, she finally says. If you're not back in 5 minutes, I'm coming after you. Hit the subscribe button and drop a comment if your heart is racing right now, because mine definitely is. Aurelius leads me down, down, down through passages I've never seen before, and the further we go the more certain I become that this is a trap. But what choice do I have? Let the kingdom fall because I'm too paranoid to take a risk? Here, he says finally, stopping in front of a door that looks like it's made of solid shadow. He presses his hand against it and it swings open, revealing a chamber lit by blue fire. The founding stone sits in the center of a rough piece of granite carved with symbols that predate written language. It thrums with power, old and deep and vast. I need to touch it, I say, moving forward. I know, Aurelius replies, and I hear the smile in his voice a second before pain explodes in my back. I fall, my legs giving out, and when I touch my spine, my hand comes away wet with blood. He stabbed me. The bastard actually stabbed me. You know, I really hoped you'd be easier to fool, he says conversationally, moving to stand over me. His hand is glowing with that sickly green light from the recording orb. Aldora was right to suspect me, but she never found proof. Too careful, too clever, but not clever enough. She didn't realize I'd been planning this for 30 years. Why? I gasp, trying to crawl toward the stone. If I can just reach it, if I can just touch it, maybe I can still cast the ward. Why? He laughs. Look around you, Elspeth. We live in a world where power is determined by accident of birth, where talented mages like you and me serve mediocre nobles who inherited their positions. The Unraveling is a reset, a chance to remake society into something better. And I'll be the hero who saves what's left, the wise regent who guides the kingdom through its darkest hour. You're insane. I'm still crawling, every movement agony, but I'm getting closer to the stone. I'm visionary. There's a difference. He crouches beside me, grabbing my hair and yanking my head back. I'm sorry it has to be you. You really are extraordinary, just like Aldora said. But I can't let you interfere with. His words cut off in a gurgle. A sword point erupts from his chest, steel gleaming in the blue firelight, and behind him stands Lady Mercania, her face carved from ice and fury. You talk too much, Aurelius, she says, and pulls the sword free. He collapses, blood spreading across the stone floor, and I'm too shocked to even process what just happened. The barrier spell was failing, Mercania explains, kneeling beside me. Captain Thessaly sent me to find you. Lucky I arrived when I did. Here. She presses her hands against my wound and I feel magic, warm and healing, knitting flesh back together. That'll hold until this is over. Now go. Touch the stone and save my kingdom. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because the ending is going to be epic. I don't waste time questioning her. I drag myself to the founding stone and press both palms against its rough surface, and it's like touching lightning. Power floods through me, ancient and enormous, and I reach for Thessaly through our bond, feeling her anchor me even from floors away. The connection snaps into place like a key turning in a lock, and suddenly I can see through her eyes. She's in the throne room, hands raised, holding a barrier of pure will against the tear that's now covering half the ceiling. She's bleeding from her nose, her ears, the strain of it killing her by inches, but she doesn't falter. She feels me connect, and I feel her relief like a physical thing. I've got you, I whisper, though she can't hear me with words. But through the bond, she knows. I open myself to the founding stone and let its power pour through me. Not controlling it, not shaping it, just becoming the channel through which it flows. My magic has always been wild and chaotic because I was trying to force it into shapes it was never meant to take. But this is what I was made for. Raw power moving through me like a river, directed by Thessaly's steady anchor, flowing out to every tear in the kingdom. I can feel them all now, hundreds of them, thousands, spreading across the land like infection. And I can feel the source, the original doorway Aldora opened 40 years ago, the one Aurelius has been feeding and widening all this time. It's in the borderlands, exactly where she said, pulsing with his corrupted magic. I pour the founding stone's power into it first, and the doorway resists. Aurelius spent decades strengthening it, making it permanent, and it doesn't want to close. But I'm not trying to close it gently. I'm hitting it with the accumulated magical weight of a kingdom's entire history, channeled through a witch who's never learned to hold back. The doorway screams. I didn't know magical constructs could scream, but this one does, a sound like reality tearing, and then it collapses. Not sealed, not contained, completely unmade, as if it never existed at all. With the source gone, the other tiers start to heal. I can feel them knitting back together, the fabric of reality remembering its proper shape. The one in the throne room is the largest, the most damaged, and it fights me. The nothing on the other side wants in so badly, and it's had a taste of our world now. It knows what we are, what we have, and it's hungry for it. Thessaly, I need more, I gasp, and through our bond one feel her understanding. She stops maintaining the barrier and instead pours everything she has directly into me, her life force and magic, and will all flooding through our connection, and it's almost too much. Almost burns me out from the inside. But I hold it, somehow, I hold it all and direct it at the tear, and with a sound like thunder the nothing retreats and the tear seals. The throne room falls silent except for the sound of people breathing hard, crying with relief, trying to process that they're still alive. I release the founding stone and my legs give out. Mercania catches me before I hit the ground, lowering me carefully, and I'm distantly aware that I'm crying, that blood is still seeping from my partially healed wound, that my body feels like it's been wrung out and left to dry. Someone get the healers, Mercania barks, her voice carrying command even now. And someone arrest what's left of Aurelius. I want him tried for treason if he survives. But I'm not listening to her. I'm reaching through the bond for Thessaly, feeling for her, and the terror that grips me when I can't sense her clearly is worse than any physical pain. Where is she? I demand, trying to stand and failing. Where's Thessaly? Here. And then she's there, dropping to her knees beside me, her hands on my face, her eyes wild with fear and relief. I'm here, I'm right here. I grab her and hold on like she's the only real thing in the world, and maybe she is. Maybe she always has been. I thought I lost you. When I sealed the tear, for a moment our bond went quiet and I thought, I'm fine, she promises, but she's shaking as hard as I am. You did it, Elspeth. You actually did it. You saved the kingdom. We did it, I correct. I couldn't have held that much power without you. I would have burned out in seconds. She kisses me then, there in front of the queen and the high council and half the palace guard, kisses me like she's trying to prove to herself that I'm real and alive and here. I kiss her back with everything I have, which admittedly isn't much at this point, but it's enough. Hit the subscribe button and leave a like if you're feeling emotional right now because same. When we finally break apart, Morwenna is standing over us with an expression I can't quite read. For a moment I think we're in trouble, that kissing the captain of the guard in the throne room during a crisis is probably some kind of protocol violation, but then she smiles. Well, she says dryly, I suppose we'll need to adjust the coronation ceremony. Can't very well crown you royal sorceress when you've just demonstrated you're powerful enough to be queen yourself. I don't want to be queen, I say immediately, then panic because you're not supposed to refuse royalty. I mean, no offense, Your Majesty, I'm sure it's a great job, but I'm really not qualified. Relax, Elspeth. I'm not actually offering. Morwenna's smile widens. I'm simply pointing out that you've exceeded the traditional bounds of your position. You'll need a new title. And Captain Thessaly will need recognition for her role as your anchor. Perhaps something like Keeper of the Ward and Shield of the Keeper. Thessaly looks like she's been hit with a stunning spell. Your Majesty, I'm honored, but… It's not optional, Morwenna interrupts. You've bound yourself to the most powerful mage in the kingdom. That makes you valuable, and valuable things need official positions so no one gets ideas about stealing them away. Consider it a promotion. The healers arrive then, making disapproving noises about the state of me and demanding everyone back away so they can work. I'm prodded and poked and fussed over while Mercania gives her report on what happened in the vault. Aurelius is alive but unconscious, which means he'll stand trial. The knowledge gives me grim satisfaction. It takes 3 hours for the healers to finish with me, and by the end I'm so exhausted I can barely keep my eyes open. Thessaly hasn't left my side once, despite the healers' protests that she's taking up space and also looks like she needs healing herself. She's holding my hand, our fingers interlaced, and every time I start to drift off she squeezes gently to keep me present. Stay with me, she murmurs. Just a little longer. I'm trying, I mumble. But everything hurts and I'm so tired. I know. But you need to stay conscious until they're sure you're stable. Head wounds and magical exhaustion are a dangerous combination. I force my eyes open to look at her properly. She looks terrible, her face gray with exhaustion, still covered in dust and blood from the battle. You look like death. You're one to talk. You were literally stabbed in the spine. Only a little bit stabbed. There's no such thing as a little bit stabbed, Elspeth. We're both laughing, slightly hysterical, and the head healer gives us a stern look that suggests we're disturbing her other patients. But I don't care. We're alive. We did the impossible thing and survived, and Thessaly loves me, and I love her, and the kingdom isn't ending today. Comment below and tell me what you think happens next, because the epilogue is going to surprise you. The coronation ceremony is postponed by 3 days to give everyone time to recover and to properly fortify the palace against any lingering magical instabilities. When it finally happens, it's the strangest coronation in the kingdom's history. I'm dressed in formal robes that Thessaly helped me into because I still can't quite lift my arms above my head without pain, and she's in full ceremonial armor that makes her look like something out of a legend. We stand together before Morwenna's throne while the entire court watches, and I can feel their mixed emotions. Fear, because they've seen what I can do. Awe, because I saved them. Uncertainty, because I'm still the witch who turned the high priest's blessing into butterflies. But Morwenna doesn't look uncertain. She looks pleased as she places a silver circlet on my head, nowhere near as grand as the crown but still a symbol of office. Elspeth of House Stone, she says formally, and I try not to smile at the fact that she literally just made up a house name for me on the spot since I don't have one. You are hereby named Keeper of the Ward, Protector of the Boundaries, First Sorceress of the Realm. Do you accept this charge? I do, I say, and try not to think about how similar this sounds to wedding vows. She turns to Thessaly. Captain Thessaly of the Northern Reach, you are hereby named Shield of the Keeper, Anchor of the Ward, First Defender of the Realm. Do you accept this charge? I do, Thessaly says, her voice steady and sure, and her eyes meet mine with something that makes my heart skip. Then by the power vested in me as Queen of this realm, I bind you to these duties and to each other, for as long as you both shall serve. Morwenna produces a silver chain with 2 pendants, identical save for the symbols etched on them. One shows a door sealed shut, the other a shield. She fastens one around my neck and the other around Thessaly's, and the moment both are in place, I feel the magic activate. It's different from our existing bond, more formal, more structured. A recognition by the kingdom itself of what we are to each other, and what we've sworn to protect. The pendants warm against our skin and then settle, becoming part of us. The court applauds, and I should feel triumphant or proud or something appropriately ceremonial. Instead, I just feel tired and grateful and overwhelmingly in love with the woman standing next to me who's trying very hard not to smile too obviously during a formal state ceremony. The celebration afterward is elaborate and exhausting, full of nobles wanting to congratulate us and also carefully assess whether we're a threat to their positions. Lord Cassius, his head wound bandaged but healing well, makes a point of telling me that Aldora would have been proud. Lady Mercania corners me by the wine table and informs me that if I ever need someone assassinated, I should come to her first because she's very good at it and frighteningly discreet. I'm not entirely sure she's joking. Hit that subscribe button because the very ending is going to make you smile. It's nearly midnight when Thessaly and I finally escape to the gardens, both of us desperate for fresh air and quiet. The palace grounds are beautiful in the moonlight, all silver and shadow, and we walk in comfortable silence until we reach a small fountain at the edge of the formal gardens. So, Thessaly says, sitting on the fountain's edge and pulling me down next to her. We're officially the kingdom's most important magical defense now. How does that feel? Terrifying, I answer honestly. What if I mess up? What if another tear opens and I can't seal it? What if? She puts a finger against my lips, stopping the spiral. What if we handle it together, the way we handled this one? What if you stop expecting yourself to be perfect and just be the extraordinary disaster you are? I bite her finger lightly and she laughs, pulling it away. Rude. You love it. I really do. She shifts closer, and in the moonlight she's so beautiful it makes my chest ache. Elspeth, I need to tell you something. My stomach drops because nothing good ever follows that phrase. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. The opposite, actually. She takes a deep breath, nervous in a way I've never seen her before. The binding ceremony today, the one Morwenna performed, it's not just symbolic. It's an official recognition of partnership by the crown. In the old texts, it's the same ceremony they used for royal consorts. I blink, processing this. So we're married? Not exactly. But close enough that it would take another royal ceremony to undo it. We're bound legally as well as magically now, which means we share property, titles, responsibilities. Everything. She's watching my face carefully. I should have warned you before the ceremony, but I didn't know Morwenna was going to use that particular ritual until she started the words. If you want to contest it, we can. I kiss her to shut her up, pouring 3 months of love and terror and trust and hope into it. When I pull back, she's staring at me with wide eyes. I don't want to contest it, I say firmly. I want that cottage I promised you. I want to teach you how to grow vegetables that stay vegetables. I want to wake up next to you every morning and argue about whose turn it is to make breakfast and fall asleep listening to you breathe. I want all of it, Thessaly. Forever, if you'll have me. Forever, she agrees, her voice rough with emotion. Even when you accidentally turn our garden into a swamp. That was one time. It was last week, Elspeth. Okay, so maybe I still have some control issues. But you signed up for this. I gesture vaguely at all of me. The complete disaster package. She pulls me into her lap, her arms coming around me secure and warm. Best decision I ever made. We sit there by the fountain as the moon crosses the sky, talking about the future, about the cottage we'll build outside the capital where we can retreat between our duties, about the garden I'll probably destroy repeatedly and the training ground Thessaly wants to install. We talk about everything and nothing, and somewhere around 3 in the morning I fall asleep against her shoulder. She carries me back to our quarters now because apparently we share chambers as part of our official duties, and puts me to bed with a gentleness that makes me love her even more. I feel her slide in next to me, feel her arm come around my waist, and I let myself sink into sleep knowing that whatever comes next, whatever tears need sealing or traitors need exposing or impossible spells need casting, we'll face it together. The last thing I hear before I drift off completely is her whisper against my hair. Good night, my extraordinary disaster. And I smile, because I finally believe her. Make sure you like this video, drop a comment telling me your favorite part, and subscribe because there are more stories coming that you absolutely won't want to miss. Trust me, the next one is even wilder than this. 6 months later, I accidentally turn the Queen's prize roses into singing crystals, and Thessaly has to physically restrain me from jumping into the fountain to hide. But that's a story for another time.